The Celtics trading Jayson Tatum? That would be an earthquake. And the epicenter would be Boston trade season in the NBA is chaotic by nature, but this summer threatens to hit Boston like a Category 5 hurricane. The Celtics are no longer passive spectators in the league's financial chess game. They're neck-deep in it, and unless they slash nearly $20 million from their payroll, they risk being nailed as a second-apron team again for the third straight year. And here's where it gets ugly. Teams that cross that punitive $207.8 million threshold don't just face limited roster flexibility or annoying taxes. If they do it 3 times in 5 years, they get a delightful bonus. Their future first-round picks automatically drop to 30th overall. Not traded, not protected, dropped. By the league. That's the kind of cost that makes even title contenders consider gutting their core. And that's what prompted my mom, a casual fan, not a capologist, to stop me mid-scouting report and ask, do you think they'd actually trade Jayson Tatum this summer? At first I laughed, but then it hit me. The fact that this question is even floating around shows just how unstable the NBA ecosystem really is. A Reddit thread in r/Boston Celtics asked the same thing this week, with some fans musing about sending Tatum for Giannis. Because why not? If you're going to burn the house down, may as well torch the entire block. But let's be blunt, trading Jayson Tatum this summer wouldn't just be foolish, it would be catastrophic. Yes, the Celtics could trade him after July 6th, technically, legally, contractually, but so what? You could also legally sell the USS Constitution for scrap metal. Doesn't mean you should. Tatum, just a few weeks removed from an Achilles tear, is untradeable, not just because of what he's worth to Boston, but because of what he isn't worth to anyone else right now. If you're an opposing GM, would you pay full market value for a 26-year-old superstar coming off one of the most dreaded injuries in basketball? Of course not. You'd lowball the hell out of Brad Stevens and hope he panics. That's not a trade. That's a heist. And let's not ignore the human side. Tatum just wrapped up his 8th year in Boston, a campaign that ended in heartbreak but was preceded by one of the greatest modern runs by any Celtic. He's got 5 All-NBA selections, 2 finals trips, 1 banner. He's not some mercenary. He's been the face of a cultural revival in Boston. Not since Paul Pierce has the franchise felt this rooted in one man's identity. Trading him now after an injury, after a championship, would send a message to the entire league. Loyalty means nothing here. That no matter how long you bleed green, your contract can turn to ash the moment the calculator says so. And if you think Boston fans are unforgiving about missed free throws, imagine the fury if this front office exiles the guy who delivered. Banner 18. That's not just bad optics. It's a soul-crushing betrayal, the kind that haunts franchises for decades. You want to talk about curses? Trading Tatum in 2025 would make The Curse of the Bambino look like a bedtime story. So, no, the Celtics won't trade Jayson Tatum this summer, because doing so wouldn't be just a mistake. It would be a historic failure of judgment. And if they did, God help whoever approved it, because Celtics fans, the ones who stayed through mediocrity, through rebuilds, through heartbreak, won't just remember, they'll never forget. Jaylen Brown. Trade rumors are no longer just smoke. The fire might be coming from within. Boston. The NBA offseason just got a jolt of electricity that should send shockwaves through the league. Rumblings suggest the Boston Celtics. Yes, the same. Celtics that just fielded the league's most dominant core might be open to trading Jaylen Brown. And the whispers? They're pointing in a direction few expected. San Antonio. This isn't just another clickbait rumor. This one cuts deep into the heart of Boston's future. Brown, who just signed a record-shattering $285 million Supermax contract, was supposed to be a cornerstone. Now he might be the financial escape hatch for a franchise staring down the barrel of a $500 million payroll. And with Jayson Tatum reportedly out for most of next season after a devastating Achilles injury, the conversation in Boston's front office might have shifted from "how do we win now" to "how do we survive the financial apocalypse we built?" The prevailing logic always assumed that the Celtics would jettison complementary stars. Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday were the usual suspects. But if Boston is looking to keep the Tatum window open long-term, sacrificing Brown could be the one move that balances competitiveness and fiscal survival. And here's the catch. This isn't about Brown's talent. It's about value. It's about flexibility. It's about control. Sources close to the situation, like Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated, now describe the San Antonio Spurs as a team to watch closely. Victor Wembanyama is ascending faster than anyone expected, and San Antonio might be ready to fast-track contention. Pairing Wemby with a veteran, two-way all-star like Brown could be the leap the Spurs are looking for. And the Celtics, they wouldn't ask for Stephon Castle in return, not because he's untouchable, but because they know they won't get him. Instead, Boston could net a package that includes multiple controllable pieces like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and, more crucially, future first-round picks. And this is where it gets deeper. Jaylen Brown has never quite been treated like a made man in Boston, despite his playoff heroics, defensive versatility, and constant evolution as a scorer. He's always felt slightly peripheral to the Tatum-centric narrative. The organization has never publicly declared him untouchable. The silence has been loud. The speculation is growing because there's been no attempt to squash it. In truth, this may be about more than just dollars and cents. Brown has never fit neatly into Boston's culture-first, analytics-heavy model. His shot profile, ball handling, questions, and on-court decision-making have drawn scrutiny. Behind the scenes, there's been tension. Quiet, yes, but consistent. Trading Brown now would be less about punishing performance and more about redirecting the franchise's trajectory while it still controls the leverage. This isn't about blowing it up. It's about re-engineering a dynasty before it topples under its own financial weight. If the Celtics want to extend their championship window into the next decade, moving Brown could be the sacrifice that sustains their future. The Celtics have always prided themselves on being proactive, not reactive. So don't be shocked if the NBA's biggest blockbuster of 2025 doesn't involve a rebuilding team making a desperate move, but rather a title contender making the coldest, smartest, most brutal play of all. The Boston Celtics may be navigating a quiet off-season on the surface, but behind the scenes, the front office is playing a high-stakes chess match with the rest of the league. This isn't just about trimming salary fat, it's about positioning for survival in an increasingly aggressive trade market. And in this league, once a team is labeled as open for business, every rival executive sharpens their knives. According to Kelly Iko of The Athletic, the Houston Rockets are already anticipating conversations with Boston's front office in the coming weeks. That should raise eyebrows, not because the Celtics are taking calls, but because teams like Houston are initiating them. When a young, surging squad like the Rockets circles a veteran-laden contender like Boston, it's not just opportunism, it's blood in the water. Houston isn't just making noise for the sake of headlines. They shocked the NBA by winning 52 games and securing the second seed in the West. A meteoric rise under the leadership of Ime Udoka, the same coach Boston once bet their future on before an organizational implosion. Now, in a twist worthy of a Shakespearean subplot, Udoka might help pry pieces away from the very team that once built its identity around his vision. This is where things get uncomfortable. The Celtics are walking a financial tightrope with looming luxury tax penalties and a top-heavy payroll. Rival GMs know this. So, when Houston calls, it's not just to chat, it's to exploit Boston's cap situation, knowing they may be forced to move valuable rotational players for cents on the dollar. And there's a bigger play developing, the Giannis sweepstakes. The Rockets, armed with assets and ambition, are reportedly among the team's positioning for a potential run at Antetokounmpo. While it's unclear if the Greek freak will actually become available, what is clear is that Houston wants to be ready, and that could mean stockpiling win-now talent from teams that are cap-constrained or nearing an internal reset. Boston fits that mold. Yes, the Celtics are perennial contenders, but title windows close fast in the NBA, and they can slam shut without warning. If Boston sees this summer as its last chance to reshape the roster around its franchise cornerstones, or to escape a future of punitive tax bills, they'll be listening to teams like Houston And if Houston's calling, they're not asking politely, they're hunting. The question now isn't if the Celtics will make a move, it's whether they'll do it on their own terms, or get dragged into a deal that benefits everyone else more than themselves. The clock is ticking, and the league is watching.